Hello and welcome to Flying High with Flutter. I'm your host, allenwyma, and today I'm with Nilay, who is the program manager for Flutter, for the Flutter community. Sorry, hopefully I didn't say that wrong.
No,
For
that's
Flutter.
right. My job title is program manager. That is
Program
right.
manager.
Yeah.
But I believe she focuses more on building up the Flutter community. And I wanted her to kind of come on the show and talk about how to build up the Flutter community, kind of where you are, and also what she does. Because I'm also just generally curious, how do you actually work on building the community? I mean, all of us kind of come to the Flutter community, but we don't really know how does this whole thing get started. And there's a lot of people doing things in the background that you don't really see, I guess, kind of like silent heroes, right? Which maybe is what you are.
Exactly.
We wouldn't be coming to Flutter if we didn't know about it. If there was no community, if it was just a couple of Google employees working in a closet, then nobody would be here, right? But you can see people all around the world. So why don't you give a quick introduction kind of about, again, who you are, what you do, and let's start with that first.
Sure, sounds good. Hello again, and thank you for having me, Ella. So my name is Nilay, and now I work as a program manager in the Flutter DevRel team, and mostly work with the Flutter community programs. And how I ended up here is that I'm originally from Turkey, and when I was in Turkey, like 10 years ago, I used to run volunteered community groups. Like, I don't know if you're familiar with GDGs, Google Developer Groups. And I was running a Google Developer Group, Istanbul group in Turkey. And then we were running meetups, events. Sometimes we were hosting Googlers as speakers. Then Android was very popular. We were doing Android events. And I was doing a lot of volunteer work for Google Technologies in that volunteer group. And then a few years later, I moved to the United States, and Googlers knew me because of those volunteer work I did in the GDG, Google Developer Groups, and I was looking for a job, and I reached out to those people who were supporting Google Developer Group. I said, I'm looking for a job. I know Google wouldn't hire me. I don't ever can imagine that Google would hire me, but I'm looking for a job. Do you know anyone? And they said, oh, wait, you did a lot of good things in Turkey about Google technologies, and we are looking for a community manager. And then this is how I joined Google as a community manager. I was a contractor then, and then it was 5 years ago. And then a few years later, I was working with the Google developer groups all around the world. They were running the meetups, and then all of a sudden I heard from the community exactly that, oh, there's something called Flutter. What is this Flutter? Oh, wait, this is from Google. I had no idea. And then I just searched the team at Google. Oh, there's a developer relation. Oh, wow, they were looking for a program manager. And this is how I joined the Flutter team. And since I had a lot of community experience, and they didn't know what I'm going to do, and I didn't know what I was going to do in that team, I said, okay, I can work on the community programs because I know a lot about it. And this is how my community program manager journey started in Flutter.
But before that, you were actually like a program manager or a product manager and also a software developer, right?
Yeah, I have a computer science background. In Turkey, I did some software development, but also I did a lot of project management as well. So it was became shifted. The focus shifted every year, and now so I did a lot of things. Now I work in the DevRel team.
So, but how come you left software development? Did you find it wasn't for you, or did you just gravitated towards this kind of career path, or what happened?
Yeah, I joined my first job was a software developer job. I did it because I graduated from computer engineering, but it was not I have been programming since my childhood. It was not like that. It is because I went to that college, I studied this, and I became a software developer. But I have always this thing that I talk to a lot of people. I bring things together. I bring people together. I was managing the meetings. I was doing a lot of stuff. And then I was like, oh, Nilay should talk to the customer now, or Nilay should do the project management stuff. So it's I kind of shifted to project management because I was feeling that stuff a lot.
Oh, I see. Do you feel that this is more suitable for you? Because I feel you're really open, he said not open, but outgoing compared to some other software developers.
Yeah, I like talking to people, and I'm having more fun, and I like more, like putting things together, writing docs, talking to people, scheduling things. That's what I like. So it ended up well.
Okay. So do you ever do any coding anymore, or do you just basically put that aside?
Yeah, I haven't done. Even after I joined the Flutter team, I can't say I built a complete Flutter app. I installed it, an SDK, I get the beginner project running, but that was all I did.
I'm so surprised because you have so many. I mean, you get to rub elbows with Eric and other people who are in the team. So you have first-class support, right? If you ever need it, compared to some of us who are asking on Stack Overflow and sometimes never get an answer.
Exactly, right? I have that like full team, right? That I could get my answers, but I also knew that not everyone has this luxury as me, right? Like someone just imagine in Turkey, they can't reach out to team to get their questions answered. So it was like, this is why we need community programs, and I like to work with that.
Great. So what was like, how did you actually transition from, because I'm just trying to think about, when you started contracting, you weren't actually working with Flutter, right? Because this is 5 years ago. I think Flutter came out longer or later than that, right? So
yes, right.
How did you go from what you were doing before into Flutter?
I was working in another team at Google as a contractor, and I was supporting the communities. It was still community work, but it was Google developer groups. So it was like volunteered groups who does all the Google technology events. And then I saw that Flutter thing. I saw they were looking for a program manager, especially for their events and that stuff. And I just applied for that position. But since I did a lot of community work and people knew me from the community at Google, they were like, oh, okay, yeah, we're going to hire you. And they hired me in the Flutter job.
I'm kind of curious about, why did they choose to hire you, right? Are you just that good at your job? Or I'm not saying you shouldn't be hired, but I am kind of curious,
I don't know. We should ask the person who hired me then, but yeah, so like, do you know Philip Ratcher?
No, I haven't heard the name before.
Oh, yeah. The people in the community might know Philip. Philip is one of our developer advocates. And then, Philip, I met Philip from past because we worked in the same team in the other team, but Philip then was working in Flutter. And then he knew me, he knew my work from Turkey in the GDGs, and then they were looking for a program manager, some person who could help with the community work, event work, and then he referred me to my manager then. And the manager came to me and said, look, we need a program manager. Like, we're going to hire you. It is because Philip referred you. He told good things about you. So that's the real story.
Okay, so basically you were already building a community before you were building the community for Flutter. You built a community around yourself.
Yes, exactly. Networking, right? That is true.
Okay. So do you have any tips for developers about how to do that? Because most of us are just, I'm still, even though I have to go out there, I have to talk to clients, I have to talk to people, and I still feel a little bit nervous, right? Do you have any kind of tips about how we can better network with people and what we can do about that?
So I don't know, because this is very natural for me to talk to people. I was going to a lot of conferences in the past, and I would just go and talk to people. I didn't feel any I would just go and say hi. And then when I say hi, people just say hi back. Right? That's it. And then we would start talking. Oh, where do you work? I do this work. And I was like, oh, I also did this. And yes, some people don't like talking so much with other people, but that is very natural for me. So, but once I started seeing the benefits of knowing a lot of people around me, like networking, which I say, again, how I got in Google, I was in Turkey, I moved to United States, to a country which I can't speak their languages, I don't have any work experience, and I reached out to people that I know and said, look, I'm looking for a job. And what could they have just said? They could just say, sorry, we don't have a job. Or they would say, yeah, we are looking for someone. So it worked out.
So basically 50-50 chance, right? It's either you ask and you get it, or if you don't ask, you definitely don't get it, right?
That's the thing. If you don't ask, then you would never get it. But if you ask, there's a 50% chance that you would get it.
So talking about like, just kind of walking up to people and saying hello. I went to a Ruby conference in Taiwan, and I thought it was kind of interesting, like, because obviously people who go to this kind of event are very much like, like us, nerdy people, right? And I saw the creator, right? So this conference was for Ruby. The creator of Ruby is holding his food in his hands and looking around like a scared dog, like, where should I sit? And there's like 100 people there. And this is your chance to talk to the guy who created the programming language. You can sit lunch with him. Nobody said anything. So I just said, hey, over here. And he sat next to me, and I had one-to-one talk about, tell me about, where did Ruby come from? Where's it going to go? And all these things. It was fantastic, right? So your advice about just talk to people is really, I think, so true. And it's funny that you look at people like in the community and you're like, oh, this, I think fits, right? I think he's doing a lot more videos for the Flutter community. Yeah. And if you just see him on the street, or probably better if you see him, maybe I see him on the street, maybe that's a little bit, maybe he's busy or something. But if you see him at a conference, if you say, hey, Fitz, I loved your video, all these kind of things, I'm sure he's really open to talking, right? So these are just normal people, right? When nobody over here is a god, I think.
Exactly.
Just some of us. Yeah.
Right.
I am kind of curious, like, because like I said before at the beginning, right, there's people doing things. You're doing things that we probably have no idea what you're actually doing. Like, what's a typical day for you when you're building up a community as the program manager?
So because I'm a program, so my official job is I'm not a community manager. That would be different, because community managers, like, it is literally they make sure that, like, they talk to community every day. It's like that. Like, but my job title is more like program manager. And what they ask me here is that, like, what is your program? Like, what are you creating? And I have to create programs. And this is why I approach the communities as like, okay, we have programs. For example, we have a GD, Google Developer Expert program for Flutter, and that I'm responsible to run this program. And what does it mean? I create strategies how we can grow this community. What is the best way to get them engaged? And then I go and present about this to the people. Hey, look, this is what we are doing. This is what we need. And then I get things, and then I keep this running. But since the nature of the community management comes as a natural for me, because I am also talking to those people as a community manager, so this community is also engaged and people feel welcomed, they feel encouraged, and there's a community, there's a sense of community, and people can talk to each other as well in the community. But they do all the work in the community. They keep the community engaged. They keep the things get going. What I do is just, I'm here to support you. Like, this is my job. So my day-to-day job is, sometimes I write the strategy docs, because this is what I'm asked to. Like, tell us what is your 2021 plans for community programs. This is sometimes what I do. Sometimes I do go and present these things in the teams so I can get budget or support. But most of the time I see people like, oh, we have a new GDE joined, so how can I make them feel more welcome? So I make a tweet, hey, welcome to the GD club. And I introduce the new GD to the existing GDs. Hey, let's join me in welcoming our new GDs. And then I run monthly calls with the GDs. Let's get together, talk about this stuff this month. So it's a lot of mixed work, what I do every day. Okay,
but it sounds like you do a lot of facilitation, right? Like making sure people get what they need and try to find what they need. Now, if people want to actually do some type of event, do they have to be a GDE to contact you to get support, or can they just say, hey, I really want to do this. Is there anything that you can help with?
So how things are working in the Flutter communities in general is that people literally want to do something, and they do something, and they reach out to me because they know that I am there and I can help them. And I am trying to support them as much as I can. So they do it, they plan it, they think about it, they come up with creative ideas, and they ask for support.
What kind of ideas do you get, right? I'm curious about, like, maybe what's the best idea you got and what's the worst idea you've had?
Sure. So, we have, there are a lot of things going on because Flutter, there are a lot of awesome things in the community. And now, for example, our GDE, the GDEs, we are those expert people, they create a lot of content, right? They do videos, they do podcasts, they do talks or blog posts and everything. And then they come up with great ideas, like for videos and everything, and it's very impressive. Another things that we have local meetup groups. And then those are we have right now 95 local meetup groups. We call them Flutter meetups. They're on meetup.com and run by volunteers. And they come up with a lot of great events locally. For example, in Philippines, there was a 2 months of event series. They started learning Flutter and they built an application. And it happened in Philippines community. And then there was another event in Turkey, which they called it Flutter Festival. Let's do it. This weekend is going to be the Flutter Festival. All the Flutter people in Turkey come together. We're going to talk about Flutter. We're going to have fun. So it was all Flutter Festival Turkey. So these are the local meetups. And then people started running conferences, global conferences, and which is awesome. There was one global Flutter summit a few weeks ago. All I did just promotion support, and then so people know about it, and they reached out all the GDs and a lot of speakers, and they created an amazing agenda. There was one similar last year, Flutter Europe conference. It was amazing. It was literally the first time all people, not last year, 2020, it was when we could do in-person events. A lot of people traveled to Poland and they did Flutter Europe conference, so it was great. And it all was run by the community. And last one I'm going to say, we also have a Flutterista community, and that is the women and non-binary Flutter developers or people who are interested in Flutter. They're on Slack. And last year, I did a speaker training for them. We said, okay, we want more women speakers. We brought a teacher and we did speaker training. And after the speaker training, they ran a Flutterista conference. It was all Flutterista, 25 speakers. Most of them were first-time speakers, and it was great. So our community is very creative. They do a lot of work for Flutter because they like Flutter, and also they know that it's going to benefit themselves. And also they know that, their Flutter team wants to support us. We can talk to Nilay, and Nilay would find the support to us.
I've actually never heard the term Flutterista. So that is that for only women to be a Flutterista?
Yeah, women or non-binary Flutter communities.
So where does the Ista part come from? I'm kind of curious, or do you have any idea?
So it is, I think the name came up. So the group was originally created by Emily Fortuna, who used to be a Flutter developer advocate in the team, but she's not in the team anymore. She came up with a few people in the community and, okay, we want to create this support group, and what should we name the group? I think Flutterista is kind of some Spanish, like Ista. When they add something, there's a female meaning, but I don't know what exactly, like Flutteristas, right? So it says this is a female-related group, but I don't know what it exactly means.
Okay, was just curious. I've never heard of this conference before. Okay. Excuse me. Okay, so okay, we did talk about how you never actually use Flutter. So, how you've only done one specific app, right? You've only just done the tutorial, and that was it. You didn't get into any kind of state management parts yet.
So I am familiar with the terms. I know state management approaches, widgets, and but if you ask me if you ever build a hands-on application, I didn't. But I've been watching the videos. I've been talking to people in the community. If you ask me, if you tell me like in widget or like, I am not very far from it. I know those terms.
Okay. So then I guess my next question is like, what is the most interesting, or no, maybe I'll ask a different one. Yeah, because some of my questions were really about kind of Flutter and what you do, because it is curious. I am curious to hear what are Google employees actually doing with Flutter. But let me answer you this question, right? So you did mention that there's lots of podcasts, there's video tutorials, all these kind of things. Do you think there's actually enough knowledge and enough places that people can actually pick up Flutter? Like basically anybody can pick up Flutter, or is still things are like you have to spend a lot of time on yourself, or not on yourself, by yourself to kind of dig in and learn yourself?
I would say there are a lot of great resources already, both created by Google and the community. So Google's official documentations on Flutter, the Get Started page, it has a very clear and good instructions how to start with Flutter. And also a lot of documentations about different widgets, how to create animations, state management. So a lot of great resources. And also the YouTube channel, our Flutter official YouTube channel has a lot of great videos, how to use this, like widgets. There's a package of the week series, what package you can use in which case, or widget of the week, this widget does this work, or videos about state management. So there are a lot of great official resources. But also community created a lot of great resources. There are awesome courses to start learning Flutter from scratch, or, I know already something about Flutter. Now let's look at more advanced stuff like how to create animations with Flutter, or how to use Firebase with Flutter, or Flutter desktop applications, like also some advanced topics. We have a lot of community created resources as well.
So I think the next question I have is there going to be any like more push in the community that's going to help people to really understand and really see about things that keep changing, like Null Safety and Firebase? Because I've seen, because both of those is huge, right? Now, if you create a new Flutter project, you have to do Null Safety, right? It's enabled by default.
Yes.
And the other one is that not everybody, but most people are going straight to Firebase. But I do see a lot of people complaining, saying, oh, the tutorial I'm following, it just doesn't work. And I look at their screenshot and there's a red underline underneath some of the code. And basically they changed the interface within the Dart interface. And so like, is there any kind of push to really help people understand, hey, this is how you should do it now? Like, ignore the past. We need to move towards this future.
I see. So we try to really keep our resources up to date, the official Google resources, like all the documentation and also code labs. I know there's a project going on. We are like there are already a lot of existing code labs, right, to learn Flutter, but they have been written in the beginning. Now they're all turning to Null Safety. Sorry, my dog was just entering the room. So we are trying to update. We are keeping our resources up to date. Also, community is aware that like there are some courses available. They were very good in the past, but they don't have Null Safety, or they don't have Flutter 2.2 updates. And we know that, they know that, but there are also a lot of community members are creating new courses. For example, I just saw today the GD Andrea. He has a great beginner course, and he was saying, I'm going to create a new course with Flutter 2, like with the new updates. What topic I should focus on? Tell me. So community is also actively either building new courses or updating their own resources.
Okay. Yeah, but I think a lot of people, they just kind of share things that they used in the past. And of course, Null Safety is still rather new in comparison, right? Mm-hmm. But yeah, right. It's good to hear. So that should be Andrea Bisotto, right?
Yes, exactly.
Has there been anything like surprising that you've seen community members actually doing? So like Flutteristas is pretty interesting. Actually, before we even, now that I remember, we said so many interesting things before we actually began recording. You did say that. So actually, let's kind of go back, right? So you don't have all details about all developers in Flutter, but you have some interesting stories, right? What has been some of the more interesting stories of developers in Flutter, right? So you mentioned something about mothers.
Yeah. So we have a lot of different people who have different backgrounds in the community. And this is the beauty of Flutter community, to be honest. So we have a lot of new beginner developers, students. They are learning Flutter because they see it's very exciting, new projects, new jobs. So I should learn Flutter. The community looks great. So we have a lot of beginner developers. There's one specific group that in London, one lady created a group of moms who has 5-year career gap. So like they used to work as a developer or something else, but they had a child, so they have to give it some break, like 5 years, and then now they want to return to tech, and they started learning Flutter, and they created their first applications with Flutter, and now they are trying to become ready for the job market. And then, but also, I know that like now bigger companies or bigger applications are using Flutter, and those kind of projects are looking for more experienced developers, not only in Flutter, but it is more like, oh, I know about application architecture. I can create a good architecture, or I created like big mobile applications in the past. Now I can do this for same for the Flutter application. So there's also need for more senior developers in the job market as well. A lot of different stories, and a lot of great things in the community right now.
Okay. I did ask a question before about like what has been, so you talked about some pretty interesting like community-led developments. What has been like one of the maybe not so great ideas that have come from the community where they said, Nilay, I really would love to have your help. And so you don't have to name who it is. I'm sure it may be embarrassing, but I am kind of curious about what's the spectrum that people kind of approach you with.
Like there's a lot of people, a lot of stories, right? It's all like, and I talk to a lot of people, and some people tell me that, Nilay, I won't be able to do this your job because it's a lot of the people and everyone has a different story or like personality or anything like, and somehow I have to get along with everyone, and that's fine. When people come to me to ask for support, I won't be able to say there was a thing that, oh, this is a terrible idea, like we shouldn't do that. I don't have any example like that, but there are some examples that I would say, oh, maybe this is not a good time to do this. For example, we were going to announce FlutterWeb stable release, and then there was someone in the community. They were like, oh, we want to build a website with FlutterWeb. And we said, okay, and then we want to talk about that website, how we built it in our own local event, which is great. And I had no idea what website they were going to build. And then when after they came to me again and they said, look what we built, and they built a website who was like loading a lot of pictures, and it's like not the best use case for FlutterWeb, because FlutterWeb, like we said, like there are some good use cases you can do with FlutterWeb, but that website was not a good example. And then, so like, it was a difficult situation for me because I didn't want to discourage them because they spent a lot of effort, but this is not the best use case for FlutterWeb. And we said let's talk about why this is not a good use case for Flutter or what you can do better with Flutter. So we try to find better ways that will work for us and for them, because people are spending efforts, and that is so valuable.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, sometimes people do things and they're not the best, but you don't want to discourage, you just want to encourage. So it's really difficult to do sometimes, especially if they, something's done in a really, I'm glad that you gave them encouragement. It's sometimes it's not always the easiest to do, right? Because you're like, well, why would you do that? Or because, but there's been things quite surprising in the community, right? I've seen there's a Flame engine, which is like a video game engine for Flutter, which I was always told that Flutter is not really good for making video games. So I don't know how that works, but I still want to dig into that.
Yeah.
How about this? Like, as somebody who's doing programs, right? How do you like help Flutter to stand out compared to other ones, right? Conferences, everybody does conferences. People always do different things, right? So is there a way, is there something that you guys are doing that you can say, hey, listen, yes, we're doing things similar to other communities, but this is our special flavor. This is the flavor of Flutter, and this is kind of what, do you understand my question?
So not really.
Well, like React Native, I'm sure they also have conferences, right? Flutter has Flutteristas, you said. There's Flutter Conference for Europe. Is there anything special that Flutter's doing that you think, from your side, that you think is really helping to push Flutter and says, you know what, this is Flutter, like this is what what we are, and like maybe the GDGs or something?
Yeah, got it. Okay. So from day zero in the Flutter team at Google, we were always community first minded. It was like, whatever the community does, it's very valuable. Sometimes they do things better than us, the Flutter team. And then there are some stories that like we deprecated the package Flutter team wrote, and then encouraged the package that community wrote because it was better. So we were always like, know that community does great things, and they are here to improve Flutter and help us. Like, this is an open source project, and we are all working in this together. And also another thing, we always try to support the community. Like, they know that like there are people in the Flutter team, they want to support what they do. So, and they feel more encouraged. They want to do stuff for us. But on the other hand, we always try to foster a welcoming culture in the community. Sometimes there are discussions on social media why the other technology is not good, but Flutter is better. And we try to say, like, encourage people not to do that kind of comparison instead, because there are cases that other thing works great, and there are cases Flutter is great. So this is why there is no Flutter is great, the other thing is bad situation. We try to say everyone has a different use case, different story, and there is a technology that fits better for everyone. So we try to foster this culture in the community, and it created a very welcoming and very kind community. And I think it's great, and it really helps to people say, oh, look, like, this is a fun place to be. I want to be there.
Yeah, I think the most welcoming part is really having like that welcoming community, right? So many places are known to be very toxic. Even Stack Overflow is known to be toxic, but I don't really notice it. Maybe I don't ask the questions that make people all upset, or maybe I'm not in that community of questions. I don't know. But okay, it's good to hear. So based on your time putting together programs for the community, do you have any like tips or any warnings or something that you can give to beginning Flutter developers that you think they should do? Maybe they should attend Flutter conference in Europe, the Flutter Europe, or attend Flutteristas or something. Is there anything that you think would be good for them to really check out?
It is definitely good to check out the existing like communities, like local meetups, to find other people like them so they can ask their questions. And there are a lot of online forums that they can join, and they can talk to other people, because it's good if they see what other people are saying or are able to ask you questions and find answers for their questions. So I definitely encourage everyone to check out all those community programs once they start learning. And also, a lot of community itself create great resources, and they should look at them as well, because for everyone has a different use case to use Flutter, right? And they might find something very good and exactly what they need. So yeah, I encourage them, like participating in the community is, we really encourage people to do so.
Is there any recent programs that you worked on, or any events coming up that you think people should be checking out?
There is no right now, to be honest. We are working on a few things. They're coming out, but there's nothing. Yeah, there's no, as far as I know, there is no events coming soon.
Okay, that's sad to hear. I'm hoping that there'd be a Flutter conference similar to Google I/O, Google Flutter, right? Google Fly or something. Just about
exactly.
Flutter.
Yeah, we do once a year Flutter conference. This year it was in March, and who knows when it will be the next one.
Okay. Well, I'm hoping you would know, right? But
I don't know.
let's see.
I would tell if I knew.
Okay. Well, I mean, that's good to hear. Is there anything you wanted to give a shout out to or anything you wanted to say before we sign off? Because I think we went through all the questions I wanted to ask you.
Yeah, thank you so much for also this as well, because of these things, I'm able to reach out to other people that they know that, oh, there is someone who might help us for what I do. So thank you so much for doing this. This is very valuable. And this is what makes Flutter communities really colorful and great. And then also everyone in the community, thank you so much for all you do, because yeah, so I don't know if you're aware the impact you're creating, but you're doing awesome things, and thank you. We're so thankful for what you do for Flutter, because the Flutter team at Google itself, they wouldn't be able to do this right now.
Actually, I do have one last question for you, which is if somebody wanted to do something, how can they actually contact you? Because it actually took me a while to try to find you. Maybe I was looking in the wrong places.
How did it go? So I wish I could give my email address and people would just reach out to me, but it's hard. But sometimes if there are good things that you're doing, if you're tweeting them, you can just like mention me, say that, look, you should see this. And then we start talking on messages. Or if you know any other GDs or meetup organizers, because those people are always connected with me, you can talk to them. They can do an introduction. I wish I was able to help everyone, but there are a lot of people, like a lot of things, and I don't have time for that. But also a lot of great community members. There's great support in the community. You should feel free to also reach out to those people if you know anyone.
Okay, that's good to know, because like I said, I never added you. Somehow we got on the same email chain at one point from somebody else. I won't mention who, but I'm happy that they put us in touch. And yeah, definitely, I could say that reaching out to a GDE is probably the best way, because yeah, they have direct contact with you, and they're probably also good for you too, because they can also be the first line of filtering out things that maybe make sense and don't make sense, right?
Exactly. Yeah, most likely they would know much better than me. They would be able to help you better than me.
Yeah, and especially because you have such a big connection with them, it's easy to say, okay, this guy, okay, I trust him. He must be showing something useful, something good. Okay, if nothing else, then I really am happy to have you on here. I think if you have some type of big event that you have coming up, maybe it'd be good if you kind of get back on here and talk about that or anything else, maybe a year wrap up. So otherwise, thanks so much for your time. I appreciate it. I know you're a very busy lady. It's hard to get a hold of you also too from my side, and that's okay. If you're not busy, then it's hard to say why what you're that you should be in the community, right? So I'm happy that you're here. Thanks so much for your time.
Thank you very much. Thank you.